I'm building a homestead from the ground up as a homemaker, and today I want to talk about the technical side of turning the land into a homestead and what to think about when planning out the landscape and where to put your house and all of that other good stuff. So if you're new here, this is going to be one of many in the series that I have of building a homestead from the ground up. I've always wanted to build a home, and thankfully that dream is becoming a reality, and I've been blessed to be able to have this opportunity to share with you all in the event that you also would like to build a homestead. So if you're interested, hit that subscribe button and let's jump in. So first I want to show you the plans that we have for the septic. So I think you can see it. So this shows our parcel of land, and it shows different things like the wooded area, the elevation, north, east, south, west, if there's any wetlands, all of the stuff that you need to know about lands that would dictate where things go. So now this is our house. And we have a deck right here. This is our driveway. This is the septic, and this is the leach field. You really want to get familiar with the layout of the land and where things sit, because that will dictate how you can use your homestead. And so for me, building the house, knowing, okay, I want to have a garden, that allows me to be able to plan things a little bit more strategically. So like, for example, the front of the yard gets the most sun. There's no trees in the way. All the trees are pretty much in the back. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, like I want to make sure that there's enough room for garden space in the front, so that way I can have a garden. And even things like ducks, we're fortunate to have wetlands nearby, so if the ducks wanted to go in the little stream, they can. If you want bees, or if you want other types of livestock, you need to consider the layout of the land and how it will lend itself to doing those certain homesteading things. So if you're building a homestead, some things to consider is, does your land get enough sun, or will trees need to be taken down? Do you have any wetlands? That might be good for ducks, or it might kind of interfere with certain things. Where does the sun rise and where does it set? That will determine what areas of the land get the most sun. Or what type of soil do you have? If it's clay, you might want to think about having raised garden beds. Or even if you have hills on the property, that's going to change the layout of your garden if you utilize the hills to your advantage, or if you try to flatten everything out depending on how big the hills are. All of these factors are the types of things that you want to think about when choosing the placement of different things like your home and your driveway and the septic and well and so on, because it will influence how you can utilize your homestead. And so like, for example, with the home, I talk about this a little bit in more detail in the video that I will post below, but something to think about is, what is the size of your home in reference to how big of a plot of land that you have. And another thing too is, depending on where the sun is and where your home is, that house is going to cast a shadow either in the morning or at nighttime. So, or in the evening, I should say, not at nighttime. But again, if you plan on planting near the house, that's going to impact the different crops that you can plant depending on how big your house is and how close it is. But just, again, things to think about. Another thing to think about is the driveway. And so for us, we put the driveway on the west side of the house because we felt like it made the most sense. But essentially, the driveway is going to be a section where you can't really utilize that for a garden or to keep livestock or anything. It's a driveway. So you want to be strategic in placement of that. And if you are building this homestead on a budget, you also want to think about the materials you use to make the driveway. Are you doing gravel or are you doing tar? Where I'm building, tar is definitely more expensive than gravel, but it lasts longer. Or other things to think about, and I don't know if this is just the Massachusetts thing or if this is in other states, but you do have to tar a certain portion of the driveway in the beginning, the part that meets the road. That's just standard code. I don't think it's that on private roads, but we do not live on a private road. Or even we could only put the driveway so west because it has to be inward, in lining up with the property line. So all of these things kind of dictate how you can and can't use your land to the best of your ability. So being mindful that there are these different factors at play will change how you might set up your homestead. Septic is another thing, the leach field. You do not want the leach field within 100 feet of your well, or you also want to make sure that the leach field is a lower elevation than the house so gravity can do its thing. But you also don't want the leach field at the lowest point in the event that you get a ton of rain and you have all that rainwater collecting directly over the leach field. You also can't use the leach field, like that area, like you can't plant anything or do anything above it. Understandably, I don't know that you'd want to, but it's a space where you can't use it. So again, like you really need to think about placement for that. And also the well, you can't place your well within 100 feet of the leach field, but it also is the same with the neighbor's property as well. So depending on what your neighbors have, it might dictate what you can and can't do with your lot, and so on and so forth. So again, just things to think about when you are putting together a plan for your piece of property for a homestead. And I think what makes us wannabe / homesteaders different is the fact that we want to use our property to the max. We want to utilize every single square inch of the property that we possibly can that makes the most sense. So we're not just going to put the house wherever simply because we don't care. We're not that kind of homeowner that just is content with the decisions being made for us. So if you are building your own homestead, or if you're thinking about it, I highly recommend doing a lot of thinking beforehand of what you want to do on your homestead and how you plan on maximizing the space effectively. And so it really is exciting. Like for me, where I'm at, I'm renting, I'm kind of limited to having garden space. So building this homestead, it was definitely important for me to be like, okay, I want the layout to look visually appealing, and I also want enough space to have different garden beds. So it's definitely exciting that next year I will be able to do that. So yeah, all good things coming down the pipeline, and I hope this inspires you if you plan on building a homestead, or if you just like watching me go through the process. But until next time, I will see you then. Bye.